Good morning. Today is the 25th of the ER. And it's the 16th of May, or something like that. And we're holding by a new essay, relatively new, we just started it, on Bechukotai. We said that this is a very, very foundational essay, because it deals with the intellectual soul and its role in the person. And what we talked about last time was, if you remember, that the intellectual soul is called tzelem. It's called the image of God in man. And that's from Rav Chaim Vital himself, from the Arizal's redactor, as they say. Okay. And now he says something very important about this, that the intellectual soul is a mixture of good and evil. So it needs to be refined. But it's not the same refinement. It's not the process of refinement that we talk about when we talk about the animal soul. The animal soul is like a process of submitting the klipa, of controlling the klipa, controlling the negative aspect. Here, the refinement is more an aspect of havdalah, of strengthening the good, meaning teaching the intellect the right way of thinking. Because to begin with, the intellect, like we said, it starts off from as serving the animal soul. And then by learning Torah, that's what we're going to see here, that there are two changes that come about in the intellectual soul as a result of learning Torah. This is what this essay is in general is about. But now we want to see something very important. This idea that it's called the tzelem. Tzelem, again, means like an image. It's as close as we can come to translating this. And it's the tzelem which is the intermediary between the divine soul and the animal soul, without which you cannot refine, you cannot rectify the animal soul. So it is responsible for transforming me into somebody whose animal soul is serving God. And that's what the intellectual soul does. Again, if you don't learn this mimer, then you couldn't really figure it out from the Tanya. In the Tanya, it's not clear who is this intermediary. Who is he? But here he says it very clearly. The intermediary, the one who's in between the divine soul and the animal soul, is the intellectual soul. And so we went further last time, and we said that this means that I myself, the I that I'm talking about all the time, who is this I? The I is the intellectual soul. And this is something that came from the Rebbe Rayatz also. He also said this...
So you just said that there's three different neshamas.
Right.
You're saying that there's one neshama with three different facets, or three different separate neshamas. And we don't talk about three separate neshamas, we talk about the neshama.
We don't call them neshamot. We say, unfortunately, the word in English is soul. That's what they chose. Because there's no good translation for nefesh. The translation for nefesh is psyche, or anima. But what are you going to say? The animal anima? You can say the animal psyche. You can say the divine psyche. That would make sense. But a lot of people don't know what psyche means. I use it a lot, but it doesn't mean that everybody understands what it means. So the way it's always been translated...
I'm not sure what it means.
Right. So the way it's usually been translated is soul. So they say animal soul and divine soul, but that's not what it is in Hebrew. In Hebrew, it's the animal psyche and the divine psyche. And there's the intellectual psyche. And so what does that mean? That really there's, even if we would say animal soul, divine soul, why would you tend to separate those more than psyche, for instance? There's just one, but it had different aspects to it. And they're so different, their origin is so different, but they're one, and the person, they're just one thing. But they're so different that it feels like you're two different people. But here we're saying you're really three different people. My intellect is the I, who I usually talk about, who I usually refer to when I say I, the consciousness here. My divine seems to be far removed. And my animal soul So some people would put it in the subconscious. They would say like you're not aware of it at all. So it's not entirely untrue. It's true, but we in the animal soul we also include hunger, and they wouldn't put hunger in the animal soul because hunger is conscious. So subconscious doesn't fit the bill for that. It doesn't fit. So you're asking in the end, how many souls are there? Ontologically, there's just one. But phenomenally, meaning the way that we experience ourselves, we experience it as a dichotomy. As that there's really, at first, at least two that are very, very different from one another. The divine and the animal. Now we're adding a third, intellectual. But you can add many, many. The Rambam, Maimonides, when he talks about the soul, he says many, many souls. What he's talking about is different aspects. The same thing when you're talking about Sfirot and God. So how many, does it mean that because there's 10 Sfirot, 11 Sfirot, 13 Sfirot, that there's 13 different gods? No, he's all one. But he manifests this way and he manifests that way, and it's all different faces of the same thing. But when you experience this, the feeling is as if I'm two different people. Or in this case, three already. Now, just to add more to this, now he's going to say something more. And he's going to say, ולזה ניתן 70 שנה לכל אחד ואחד לפי ערכו ושיעורו בכדי לברר. That this is the reason that every person receives 70, 80, however many years he has, in order to rectify his animal soul. So he's going to use his intellectual soul, affected by his divine soul, in order to rectify his animal soul. So why do you say 70 years? Why not just say, this is the lifespan that the person has been given, or this is the life of the person? Why do you have to say 78 years? What does that add? Apart from the fact that it's the verse, he's quoting a verse from Psalms. But still, why do you have to mention this? So the answer is that every day you receive a new tzelem. This has to sink in. Every day of our lives, we have a new intermediary that we're working with. What is the intellectual soul? It's the thoughts that I have today. So my thoughts are now, where am I going to daven now? Because I don't have my tefillin. Right? So it's like a new thought. It's a very prosaic thought. It doesn't mean anything. But just because I forgot that my tefillin aren't here, like why would my mind be occupied with this? On any other day it wouldn't. But still, now to solve this problem, to think about how am I going to do all this now in the morning, so that's an issue now in my head. That's the tzelem I received today. So I have to use that tzelem, that intellectual problem, let's call it. And I have to say, this is something that I need to use today to connect my divine soul with my animal soul. If this is what I'm thinking about now, these are the thoughts that I'm having, then it means that I need to use them to connect. I need to be aware of where my intellect is. Where is it? Where is it? Because every day it renews. Every day it's something new. In fact, there's no such thing as 2 days where I think the same things over and over. And if I do, that means sar tzilam alehim, that I don't have my tzelem. I don't have my image of God. And it could be that it seems to me that it's the same, but really it's not. Every day is new thoughts. The thought is constantly wandering. It's constantly moving around. What's causing it to move around? First and foremost, the fact that every day I'm receiving a new tzelem to connect my divine soul with my animal soul. To transfer the refined light in my divine soul so that it can refine my animal soul. That every day I have a new conduit, a new connection, a new intermediary. And so every day I'm growing. That's what it means, Avram Zaken Ba B'Yamim. That Abraham was old, he had all his days. Because every day, the tzelem that he received on that day, the intellectual soul that he received on that day, he used to connect heaven and earth. So it's a very novel thought. That I have to look at my changing thoughts as a new inspiration from above, and that it needs to be used the right way to connect my divine soul with my animal soul. So I have to contemplate. I can't just let it go. It's not just. There are people whose lives are about thinking. They wake up in the morning and have a new thought, because what they do all day long is they study all day long. They learn all day long. So they have new thoughts all the time. And then for them it's very clear that they have new thoughts. And most people think, I have the same thoughts all the time. But it's not true. If you don't inundate yourself with media, then you begin to feel that, wait a minute, there's something inside that is changing anyway without listening to the news, without seeing whatever they have there on the media. It's not interesting. What really is interesting is that every day I do have new thoughts. And they need to be connected. So sometimes the thoughts are because, like now, I forgot my tefillin, so I have to figure out some solution. But it's also telling me that if that's what I'm preoccupied with, so that's where my tzelem is today. I have to think about this. I have to think what it means. I don't know yet what it means, but later on I'll probably know. Okay, now he's going to tell us all of Kabbalah in 4 sentences. Gam ita be'etz chaim, it says in Eitz Chaim another thing, she'ata ma mevarer ban, that now the name ma, the filling of God's name that equals 45, mevarer ban is what refines the filling that equals 52. And fillings, you know, nothing to say here. ולעתיד לבוא, כשיתברר בחינת בן, and in the future, when the ban, the filling of 52 is refined, it's finished refining, אז יהיה עטרת חי אל עטרת בעלה. Then the woman of valor will be the crown of her husband, which means, in other words, that ban, the one that was refined, the filling of 52, will go above the filling of 45, which refined it, and it will become a crown for it. Okay? So what's the simple description? That there's a masculine energy in the world and there's a feminine energy. And for now, the masculine is refining the feminine. But when the feminine is finished refining, it rises higher than the one that was refining it. Okay?
I don't understand one more.
Okay, we'll try it again in another way. So right now, the ma and ban, the easiest way to think about it is my intellect and my heart. Okay? What's sitting in my heart? My animal soul. All my cravings are situated there. That's how it's described in the Chasidus. So right now, my mind, my intellect needs to refine my heart. That's how it is now. It's called ma mevarer ban. The name ma, 45, which is equal to man. That's like the primary identification of man is with his intellect. What? Because 45 is the value of Adam. It just happens to be the same gematria. So it's refining the behema. Ban, 52, is the value of behema. It's Adam ubehema, the man and the animal. In me. In each one of us. So the intellect now needs to refine the heart. What does that mean? That's what we call mach shalit al halev. That the mind needs to control the heart. But once the heart is refined, meaning all the negative, all the klipa, all the impurity has been pushed out, it's been refined, then
that's the work of a tzaddik.
No, it's the work everybody does. All the time. That's what we do. Every Beinoni is, what is he doing? He's mach shalit al halev.
Halavai beinoni.
Settle, but that's what you do. Halavai, you should finish it. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that you don't do it. Of course you do it. What, because you can't be 100% of the time something, so you don't do it at all? Of course not. You do as much as you can. So I'm refining my heart as much as I can. When I'm finished refining it, even though it was the one that was being refined until now, it will rise higher than my mind. It will rise higher than the intellect. What was the animal before now becomes higher than the man. Why? Because there's a higher aspect in the heart than there is in the mind. There is a higher aspect, but it just needs to be revealed. And it's revealed through the process of refinement. Okay? So in Kabbalistic language, the way the Arizal says this, is the Ma, the 45, refines the Ban, the 52. He doesn't mention that this is the intellect and the heart. Although you can gather it from other places, but that's mostly the work of Chasidut to explain that. But when he goes up, when the Ban rises up higher than the Ma, the heart rises up higher than the mind, then it's no longer called Ban. Ki hashvirai b'bchinat sag, kulo sag yachdav, v'hainu b'bchinat ban shebasag. It says what people mostly know is that there's 4 fillings, 72, 63, 45, and 52. Fillings of God's names, Milui, Yud Ke Vav Ke, how you write it. You said you knew. You don't remember? 72 is Yud Vav Daled, Hey Yud Vav Yud Vav Hey Yud. That's equal to 72. 63 is Yud Vav Daled, Hey Yud Vav Aleph Vav Hey Yud. That's equal to 63. 45 is Yud Vav Daled, Hey Aleph Vav Hey Aleph. It's 45. And 52 is Yud Vav Daled, Hey Hey Vav Vav Hey Hey. So these are the 4 fillings that he says are the most important. And he builds all the Kabbalah around this. Okay? Now he says that when the emanator, meaning this is not creation. Emanator, the way you need to understand it is any point in time is emanation. Any point in time, doesn't matter what the point is. It's not 6,000 years ago. This moment. At this moment, I'm emanating. How am I emanating? Because words are coming out of my mouth. So I'm the emanator of the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. Okay? Everything from all the emanations that I can give, their initial state is called sag, is associated with the filling of 63. Okay? And the 63 itself has 72, 63, 45, and 52 in it. Because there's itkalilut, because there's inter-inclusion. So there's the ban of the sag. There's the 52 of the 63. Let's say it in Sfirot, and you'll see what it means. If I do ab sag ma ban, if I do the 72, 63, 45, and 52, these fillings, and I correspond them to Sfirot. So how do they correspond? And 72 is wisdom, chokhmah. And 63 is bina, understanding. And the 45 is za, zer and pin. It's everything from chesed to yesod. And the 52 is malchus, it's kingdom. Okay, that's the inter-include. What does it mean? What does the inter-inclusion mean? It means that within bina, the 63, let's call it now bina, there's also a chokhmah, bina, za, and malchus inside of it. Okay? Who broke? Who shattered? Where was the shattering of the vessels? All the shattering was in the name of 60. All the shattering is from bina. All the shattering is in 63. But specifically, it's the 52 that was shattered. Meaning the heart of 63 was shattered. So that's like we're saying the malchus. That's what shattered. That needs to be rectified. When it's rectified, what does it become? It becomes the symbol of 63. Everything that's 63 is then associated with this rectified heart. Kulo sag yachdav. Everything becomes sag. Sag means literally 2 things. It can mean sigim. Okay? Sigim means that there are impurities, like impurities within metal, precious metal. No, sigim, the samach, sigim. Or it also means sugab shoshanim, that it's surrounded by something. It's something that's surrounded. So it's either impurity on the inside, or you're surrounded by something good. Okay? So when the impurities are taken out, it becomes something that envelops. It becomes a sag. Meaning the heart becomes something that envelops. Well, how does it envelop? It envelops the mind. It gives the mind a whole atmosphere that the mind couldn't have before. In other words, all of Kabbalah really is about how the mind rectifies the heart. And when the heart is rectified, it provides the atmosphere for the mind. It becomes something that envelops it, that surrounds it, and gives it always, like right now, most people, their heart is broken, so they live also, even if their mind is okay, they still live in a not positive atmosphere. It's very hard for them to think good, because they're constantly bombarded on the outside by things that are negative. What needs to happen? There has to be a process by which the heart is rectified, and then it becomes the atmosphere around my mind. Okay? That's all of Kabbalah on one foot. And we'll continue tomorrow.
You want me to take her and bring her back?
No.